WWE was in Brooklyn tonight. They weren't far from where I am right now. They were over at the Barclays Center. Sold out at the Barclays Center for SmackDown tonight. And they got a very newsworthy show. Let's take it back a week, because I wasn't here live last week. I had to do my review separately. But last week, the Motor City Machine Guns made their WWE debut. Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin. 18 years together as a tag team. 7 days ago, they made their debut in WWE. It took 7 days for them to come back here to SmackDown this week and finally, after all these years, call themselves tag team champions in WWE in one of the best moments that you will see on SmackDown all year. I fucking love it when good things happen to good people. And you will be hard-pressed to find anybody in wrestling who has ever had a bad word to say about Alex Shelley or Chris Sabin. Very well liked, very well respected, very influential. You heard Corey Graves say it on commentary tonight. Your favorite tag team's favorite tag team. I love that description. I think that's a very appropriate description for the Machine Guns. But let's take it back a little bit further even. Because Jey Uso has been walking around now for several weeks as the Intercontinental Champion. And then they announced this rematch with him and Braun Breaker for Raw this past Monday night. And it was kind of looking clear to me where this was likely headed. We are heading into Survivor Series. We know we're going to get a War Games match. It's already been announced. It doesn't make sense for anything other than the Bloodline story to have War Games implications on that show. Jey Uso went into Raw Monday night and he lost his Intercontinental Championship to Braun Breaker thanks to Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa. The Bloodline got involved. He lost his title. And as I told you even before then, I said it all makes sense. It's all coming into focus now because Jey Uso, when he showed up on SmackDown last week, that was the beginning of the end for him as the Intercontinental Champion. He effectively lost the title that night, and on Monday, they just handed the belt to Braun Breaker. Because the minute he showed up on Friday, you knew that it was going to be over for him. There were going to be repercussions for him stepping up to Solo Sikoa and mouthing off to Jacob Fatu, and that's exactly what happened. But you game it out a little bit more. Jey Uso, tit for tat, gonna cost the Bloodline their gold, just like they cost him his. It was only a matter of when, not if. Was I expecting it to happen this quickly? No, I wasn't. It was quite the surprise to see them go with that finish on the show tonight, because they weren't announced for a tag team title match. They were announced for a number one contenders match to become tag team champions. But you knew that it was coming. Just common sense. Use your brain. You had to know that it was coming. Jey Uso was not going to let that go unpunished. And so tonight, there he is. First it was Jimmy. Then the ref got bumped. Then it was Jey getting involved and costing the Bloodline the tag team titles. I don't want to hear that they needed help to win the titles. No, they look like an afterthought to me. They couldn't do it on their own. It's too much too soon. All of those may be valid things for people to say if they had fault that they found with this segment here at the end of the show. But you know what? Sometimes on these wrestling shows, there are moments. There are moments. Tonight, the big moment, honestly, the big moment, if you are a WWE fan, wasn't even the Motor City Machine Guns winning the tag team titles, because if you don't know who the Motor City Machine Guns are, to them, to those fans, they're just two small new guys on the roster that, okay, they wrestle kind of cool, but they're not really familiar with them. And this doesn't mean to them what it means to the fans who have been following these guys on the indies and in TNA, everywhere they've gone. If you are a Motor City Machine Guns fan, that was the moment for you tonight. But for all the WWE fans, it was Jey Uso hugging Jimmy Uso at the end of the show, because the other noteworthy thing that we got beyond the tag team title change was the reunion of the Usos. Again, something we knew was coming. It was only a matter of when. It was not a matter of if. And then that parting shot of Roman Reigns standing on the stage, looking on, contemplating things. And we are left to wonder, how are they going to resolve their issues, Roman and Jey? Because we're not done yet. There has to be a reconciliation. We haven't had that reconciliation yet. We've only had one reconciliation. What about the more important one? We're going to get that too. That will come. But I don't really care about all the other things that I just mentioned. Oh, they're an afterthought. It was background to the Bloodline story. Yeah, of course, because the Bloodline story is the dominant story on SmackDown. It is the dominant story in this entire company. Everything revolves around the Bloodline, for better or worse. Anything is going to be background noise to the Bloodline story. It played out exactly the way that I figured it would. They were going to get the assist. It was not going to be a clean win for the Machine Guns over Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa. But you live for these moments sometimes. And to see those two guys out there after all the years that they've been together, first of all, it's just surreal for me to even see them on WWE television at all. It honestly is not anything that I thought we would see. These guys have been around for a long time. Both men have had injuries, Chris Sabin especially. I mean, he was plagued there for years by multiple ACL tears to the point where I thought his career might be over. The fact that he's even able to wrestle and still go out there and perform at a high level is amazing to me, considering the knee issues that he's had before. You watch these two guys 18 years on here as a tag team, and they have not missed a beat. They go out there and they work the same kind of matches they were working 10, 15 years ago. And I fucking love it, like I said, when good things happen to good people. And to me, that was the moment of the night. That was a very cool moment. I feel fucking great for those two guys, because I'm sure for them and for a lot of the people in the back too. That, you know, WWE posted this great video up on their YouTube channel earlier. It was like a day of vlog when they first made their debut, and like Sami Zayn was backstage. I don't know why he was backstage at SmackDown, but there he was. Sami Zayn was in the back, and he was amazed because apparently Sami doesn't pay attention to anything that's going on online. I can't say that I blame him. And he was like, wait, you guys are here? Like, you're here? They're like, yeah, we're making our debut tonight. Like, he was blown away by this, but he was so happy. He was so happy. And I'm sure there's a lot of people backstage and a lot of people in wrestling right now who have worked with them and are friendly with them who are feeling the same way. But there's also a lot of fans too. So for me, that was a really cool moment. Even though it was overshadowed a bit by the Bloodline stuff. But two very important things playing out here at the end of the show tonight that really made tonight's episode of SmackDown. We had Randy Orton, who was kind of on the warpath. He wants his match with Kevin Owens, and he, without mentioning Triple H by name last week, alluded that, okay, Nick Aldis says he can't make the match. It's coming from above. I know what I have to do. And we all kind of surmised from that meant Triple H. And sure enough, Randy Orton and Triple H had a meeting of the minds tonight in the ring, and we're going to talk about that. But Kevin Owens and Randy Orton, they got themselves a match. Randy Orton got exactly what he wanted, and they're going to be wrestling at Crown Jewel next weekend. So that match has been made official. But there was also a face-off that was promoted for tonight's show between Cody Rhodes and Gunther, the World Heavyweight Champion and the WWE Champion, heading into their match at Crown Jewel. That honestly, not to say nobody cares about the match. I think the two of them are going to have a very good match. But I just don't give a shit about this whole Crown Jewel title stuff. I don't care. It doesn't matter. It's not important in the grand scheme of things. And so it's very difficult for me to find myself caring about the build-up to a match that really is kind of meaningless and trivial. Especially after that Cody Rhodes promo on SmackDown last week, which I thought absolutely sucked. I thought the Cody promo last week was garbage. And the way they left it in that promo was, I'm going to invite Gunther to come to SmackDown next week so that Gunther, as Cody did last week, can fill all of us in on why he thinks he is going to be the Crown Jewel champion, why he deserves to be the Crown Jewel champion. Who gives a shit? That was my thought coming out of that. But kept an open mind and say, okay, let's see what they have in mind for the segment tonight. I was all prepared to come on here, honestly, and tell you that it was the best thing on the show until we saw what we saw there at the very end. But what they ended up going out there and doing is having a segment that was much better than I thought it would be going in, and also a segment where The World Heavyweight Champion was out there. He should have been the one standing in the ring saying, "Tell me when I'm telling lies." Because Gunther was out there, man. He was spitting fire in the ring with Cody, which is not to say that Cody was completely overmatched or Cody sucked or anything like that. There was nothing wrong, I mean, with what Cody said or the way he said it. Cody did okay, but I thought Gunther killed it, and he just blew him out of the water, I thought, in that segment. He was standing on facts, and it's hard to argue with some of the things that Gunther, the heel, was saying in this segment, to the point where the crowd in Brooklyn was audibly cheering for and popping for some of the things that Gunther was saying. Because he was making a lot of sense. But I enjoyed that segment a lot more than I thought I would coming into the show. Something I was looking forward to and I thought I would enjoy more than I did. Game 7. We had Game 7 tonight. That's how they were billing it, between Andrade and Carmelo Hayes, with the winner going on to challenge for the United States Championship. We had the United States Champion, LA Knight. He was the special guest referee for the match. And there has not been a Game 7 this bad since the Suns and the Mavericks 2 years ago. Okay, unfortunately, it pains me to say, but the match itself and the finish they went with, very lame, very disappointing. But it made sense for the direction that they're going in, which is a championship match that has now been added to Crown Jewel. And in fact, it was one of 3 matches, one of 2 title matches that have now been added to the Crown Jewel card coming up next weekend. It was not a great first hour of the show tonight. It wasn't. But I thought, more than made up for it with the second hour for what I thought overall was a very enjoyable show. And let's talk about it. This is your WWE Smackdown review here for Friday night, October 25th, 2024. This guy right here, that's me. I'm the Solomonster. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. If you are not subscribed, go ahead and do so. Also, hit that like button. Super chats are open. You will see them popping up on your screen. David says, yeet. We are all yeeting. Maybe not everybody, but after the finish of SmackDown tonight, a lot of people will be yeeting, I'm sure. So get those super chats on in. And thank you, Stevie Richards, I have to just say, for the shout out. Somebody alerted me that he put me over, I guess, on his podcast today. So I want to say thank you to Stevie. Appreciate it. Also, I want to let you guys know, if you are a channel member, and if not, shame on you, you need to be. Part 2 of the members-only Q&A dropped on Wednesday. An hour of me answering your questions. That's on top of the hour plus from last week. So that's 2 hours plus of audio if you are a channel member. That is accessible to you right now. So make sure you go ahead and check that out. It is up exclusively right now for channel members. And leave some feedback as well. That's my treat to you. Hopefully I did a good job of answering all of your questions, and there were a lot of them. There were just over 100 of them between the 2 parts. So you got plenty of content there. Go check that out. Let's start from the very top here on this show, and we're going to start with Randy Orton. Randy Orton was shown walking through the back. He was on his way to the ring. He stopped, though, when he was in the gorilla position, and he looked over because he knows that Triple H is sitting there, usually next to Bruce Pritchard. Now, I don't know who that fucking guy was that was sitting next to Triple H. It definitely was not Bruce. I could tell you that. So I don't know where Bruce was tonight, but he wasn't there. But Randy Orton went over to Triple H, and he was having a conversation with him, and we couldn't hear what they were saying. But what we did see was Triple H basically telling him, look, you got to go out there. Basically get your ass to the ring. So off to the ring went Randy Orton. He said that if he didn't know any better, he would swear that Triple H was protecting Kevin Owens from him. So he invited Triple H to come on down to the ring so the two of them could have a conversation. So Triple H walked out on stage, and he had a microphone in his hand, and he said that he would have preferred not to do this out here, but since Randy can't seem to ever show up to work on time, I guess we'll do this now. Orton said that he's protecting Kevin Owens from him, and Triple H said he's not. He's just trying to do his job. And Randy would not let it go. He kept repeating it over and over again. You are protecting Kevin Owens from me. Just admit it. It'll make me feel better if I hear you admit that you're protecting Kevin Owens from me. And Triple H said, look, the match is not going to happen. And he's not trying to protect Kevin Owens. He's trying to protect Randy Orton. He said he's known Randy since the day he walked into the company. He's known Kevin Owens since the day that he walked into the company. Kevin has never had a friend in this business, which is not true, by the way. How many times have we been told that he and Sami Zayn have been friends, right? Off and on. But according to Triple H, Kevin Owens has never had a real friend in this business. The second that somebody was in his way, he would take them down because for him, he's all about business. But for whatever reason, for the first time ever, he let his guard down. He trusted Randy Orton. And he trusted Cody Rhodes. And he doesn't know why he did what he did. I mean, maybe he sees the good person that he wants to be in Cody. Maybe he sees the miserable prick in Randy Orton that he doesn't want to be. He doesn't know. But whatever it is, he likes the two of them. And for the first time ever, you two turned on him. At least in his mind. Says there's something that's disconnected with Kevin Owens right now, and he doesn't want to put him in the ring with Randy Orton. Says Randy just came back after 18 months on the shelf, and he doesn't want to see Orton go back on the shelf, possibly permanently. And he repeated this a couple of different times, and I just laughed. I mean, the way that he was saying it here, you would think that Randy Orton literally just came back like a month ago. Like, you just came back. Dude, the fucking guy's been back for almost a year. Like, he came back at Survivor Series last year. I think we're beyond the stage where you could say he just came back. He hasn't won a match on a PLE all year, but he's been here all year. Orton said he didn't ask Paul Levesque, the businessman, the COO, to come out here. He wanted the cerebral assassin, the game, the guy who brought a sledgehammer to the ring, the man who went to his house and beat the hell out of him on his front lawn. Beat the hell out of his miserable prick ass. That's the man that he wants. What would you do if you were in my shoes? Said that Triple H wouldn't just sit back and let it slide. He would do what he always did, which is handle his business in the middle of the ring. Give me Kevin Owens a crown jewel. He was begging him at this point. And Triple H said he hopes to God that Orton and the fans know what they're asking for. You want Kevin Owens a crown jewel? You got him. And then he warned Orton to make sure he protects himself at all times. So that didn't take much to change Triple H's mind. Just like that, the match is now official for Crown Jewel. They're going a little over the top. They went a little over the top here, I think it's safe to say, with Triple H. He was talking about Kevin Owens like he's the Terminator. What did this guy do, right? He put the boots to Cody Rhodes outside of his bus. He put the boots to Randy Orton out in the parking lot somewhere. I mean, to hear Triple H talk about this, you would think that he took a cheese grater to their faces and then set them on fire. But, you know, part of what they were doing here in this segment, it's kind of a new wrinkle here to the Owens character, where they're trying to make him seem more dangerous and more unhinged than he's ever been before. And I thought it was effective in that they were using Triple H, who we don't get to see on the show very often. Usually when we do see Triple H or hear his name mentioned, they're kissing his ass, right? It's the Triple H era, after all. He certainly doesn't shy away from showing his face on TV. But he's not on the show on a regular basis. And people know that he's running the show. So when he actually comes out and he's in a segment like this, it does feel different. It does feel special. And they wanted to use that to try to get Kevin Owens over in this new way, where he's a bad man. There's something wrong with this guy. I've never seen this side of him before. He's not all there. I thought it was effective to use Triple H in that way. And I didn't think they were going to do the match at Crown Jewel. I said that last week. I said, of course we're going to get it. But you know what? I don't think we're getting it at Crown Jewel, because think back to the promo that Kevin Owens sent in last week that they aired on TV. He was sitting there, and how did he end that promo? He ended it by saying, look, I don't know when or even if you're ever going to see me again. And I thought, okay, well, they're going to keep him off television for at least a few weeks before he reemerges, maybe in time for Survivor Series. I didn't think he was going to have a promo last week saying, I don't know when or if you're ever going to see me again. And then the very next week, Triple H makes a match between Randy Orton and Kevin Owens. But here we are. They're doing it next Saturday. I would not expect a clean finish, by the way, in that match. But I would certainly hope that when they have their match, we would get a more ruthless Kevin Owens. There has to be some change in the way he dresses, in the way he wrestles, to warrant this kind of description of him here by Triple H. It can't just be the same Kevin Owens walking out there in a t-shirt and basketball shorts, wrestling the same exact way he always does. There has to be something different. And I would be in favor of him dressing differently. I don't know, in what way, but just when he walks out at Crown Jewel, he should look different. He should feel different. He should work the match differently. There's got to be something different and unique as compared to all the other times that we see Kevin Owens in the ring and on TV, to warrant this kind of description there, because they're talking him up as some kind of dangerous individual. He needs to come off that way.
Look, everyone, it's Samoa BRO.
Hey, Nick Grosso, thank you for the $19.99. I appreciate the super chat very much. Always good to see Samoa BRO with us here on a Friday night. We had Game 7 in the series between Andrade and Carmelo Hayes, this time with the United States champion, LA Knight, as the special referee. They came into this match tied at 3 wins apiece, hence Game 7. Knight was wearing his vest over a referee shirt. He had his shades on. He had his belt on. He was calling things right down the middle in the early going. Andrade sent Hayes to ringside and was setting up for a dive. Knight got in his way, though. Stopped him from doing the dive, which got him boos from the crowd. And then he started counting Carmelo Hayes, and he was leaning through the ropes, kind of looking at him outside as he was counting. And the reason he was doing that is they were setting up a spot where Andrade hit the ropes anyway, and he ended up doing a dive out of the ring over LA Knight. And he took out Carmelo Hayes. That took us into a break. Hayes stuffed Andrade's finish. Andrade hit him with a destroyer instead. Andrade followed up with the double knees in the corner, and then he covered him for a 2 count. When Hayes kicked out, though, he propelled Andrade up into the air, and he landed on top of LA Knight. So LA Knight now, he rolls to the other side of the ring, and he's trying to regroup. Hayes rolls up Andrade, but now there's no referee because Knight's over in the corner trying to get himself back together here. So he completely missed the cover. Hayes ended up throwing a kick that Andrade avoided, and he took out LA Knight with the kick instead, and he rolled out to the floor. So there was no referee. Knight then ended up pulling Hayes out of the ring when Melo had a visual pin on Andrade in the ring. Well, Knight drags him out of the ring and then just hurls him over the announce desk. He gets back inside. Andrade was not pleased with him, I guess, getting physically involved. He took a shot at LA Knight, which sounds like a really bad fucking idea because this guy's the referee. He didn't put his hands on Andrade, but I guess Andrade wanted a fair fight. He didn't like this. He took a shot. LA Knight avoided it, put him down with a BFT. So Hayes now gets back in the ring, and he also ends up beating a BFT. Knight leaves the ring. He goes over to the timekeeper's area, and he rings the bell. Grabs a microphone, stands on top of the announce desk. So we got a no contest here. Game 7. Imagine Game 7 of the World Series going into extra innings, and the teams run out of pitchers. And they just declare, we don't have anybody left. This is going to be a tie ball game. At the end of the World Series, we have a Super Bowl where it just ends in a tie. We got a tie here in Game 7. How fucking stupid and lame is that? But Knight is standing there, and he says that they're both losers. He declares himself the winner of Game 7. Honestly, LA Knight here, he came off like a complete dick. But when you really think about it, when is he not? Like, that's his character. That's what he is. He's a raging douchebag to pretty much everybody. It just so happened that it got over, and the fans kind of like that, so they cheer for him. His character never really changed. But he came off more of a dick here than usual. And as I said before, a Game 7 this bad you will not find since the Suns and the Mavericks 2 years ago. It sucks to go 7 here in a best-of-7 series and see the series end like this. It was very lame. I mean, it's fucking lame. But it was predictable. I'm not shocked that they went with this finish. It seemed pretty obvious once they announced LA Knight was going to be the guest referee how this was going to go. Did you honestly think that LA Knight was just going to count the 3 and it was going to be Andrade and LA Knight when we've already seen it? Or Carmelo Hayes and LA Knight when we've already seen it? This was always heading to a triple threat match. And this is the way that they chose to get there. Now, backstage when this was over, LA Knight's walking and Nick Aldis confronts him, and he's not very happy about what just happened. So he lets LA Knight know that at Crown Jewel, now he's going to have to defend his championship against both men. So it'll be a triple threat match with LA Knight defending the United States title against Carmelo Hayes and against Andrade. That will be the first U.S. title defense on a PLE since SummerSlam, because there was none in Berlin and there was none at Bad Blood. But at least they made the card. And that to me is the biggest thing, because look, and I think I've made this point before, where I was always hoping that at some point we would get a match between Andrade and Hayes on a PLE. I thought maybe Bad Blood, but then it became clear they weren't going to go beyond their usual 5 matches. But, one shitty thing about them having all of these great matches, right? And some have been better than others. Some have been good. Some have been really good. But the shitty thing about them going out there on SmackDown for all these weeks, the 6 other times and having these really good matches is because they're constantly interrupted by commercial breaks. And so I'm happy that they will, and now LA Knight's going to be involved too, but they will have the chance now to go on a PLE and go out there uninterrupted without having to worry in the middle of their match about going to picture-in-picture. And they can go and have a great match and not have to worry about any of that. They deserved at least one match uninterrupted like that, and now they're going to get it at Crown Jewel. So good for them. I'm glad they're at least getting the one. Now we went backstage. Nia Jax walked up to Tiffany Stratton, said that she hoped she was feeling better after missing the show last week. That's when Tiffany called in sick, and Nia was stuck with Candice LeRae as her tag team partner. Tiffany said, look, I would have been there if I could have been, but I couldn't. So I'm here now. And Nia said that she can't get Naomi off her back and she's looking for a fight. And Tiffany said, oh, I'll wrestle her. Nia said, though, that she had already found somebody. She said that Candice really stepped up for her last week and she pinned Bayley, which is something that Tiffany has never done. So then Candice LeRae walked in with Indy Hartwell. She said that she would take care of that Naomi problem for Nia tonight. And then she told Tiffany that she can just relax. And that led into the next match, which was Naomi one-on-one with Candice LeRae. And they had an okay match. Naomi got sent into the post when she was on the floor. Indy Hartwell sent Naomi into the post and then rolled her back into the ring. Bayley came out. She took out Indy Hartwell. This distracted Candice, and that led to Naomi rolling up Candice for the win. So I'm assuming here that we're looking at a tag team match either next week or the week after, maybe. Probably Bayley and Naomi against Candice and Indy would be my guess. I hope that this doesn't mean that the Candice gimmick of her being a minion to Nia Jax is over. I think that's actually a really good spot for her to be in. Again, she's somebody who has not been utilized on the main roster at all in a very long time. I know she's the speed champion now, whatever the hell that means, but, this is a good spot for her to be in. It's not like a highly prominent spot, but it's a lot more visibility for her than she would otherwise have. She'd be sitting in the back doing nothing otherwise. So I hope that they continue with it. Maybe they can continue to stoke jealousy between Nia and Tiffany because Nia is showing favoritism towards Candice, which maybe makes her more open now to cashing in on Nia. I mean, yeah, they can work this any number of ways, but hopefully that'll continue. Then it was time for the Crown Jewel Summit between the WWE Champion, Cody Rhodes, and the World Heavyweight Champion, Gunther, who ventured over from Monday Night Raw. They had the big green crown jewel belt on a podium in the ring. It's been getting the white glove treatment on all of these shows. They treat it like it's the Hope Diamond everywhere they transport it. Gunther opened the promo by asking Cody, so what do you want to talk about? And boy, did he look happy with himself after he said that. He was so proud of himself. Cody said he wants to know why Gunther thinks he leaves Crown Jewel as champion. And Gunther wanted to talk about Cody first. We'll get to that. But he wanted to talk about Cody first. He thought it was totally unnecessary for Cody to bring up his daughter on the show last week because Cody, and again, I thought the promo was garbage. I hated it. It just felt so forced and it was so unnecessary for him to say, oh, I'm doing this for my daughter. This is the guy that has the WWE champion over his shoulder, right? The WWE championship is right there. That was his story. That was his everything. He won that belt for his dad. He won that belt for his family. And now this belt that didn't even exist until a few weeks ago. I got to win it for my daughter. Why? Why? Well, because they're trying to make it feel special. It's not going to work. But it just felt very hollow. And so here Gunther called him out for it here in the promo and said, completely unnecessary for you to bring up your daughter last week. This is not about that. This is about finding out who the better champion is between the two of them. He doesn't understand every single time why he drags the people closest to him into his business. At WrestleMania, he says, Cody finished his story all for the legacy of Dusty Rhodes. Then he wants to be the quarterback of the company, and he talks about telling the company, give me the John Cena schedule, just to live up to someone else's standards. And he thinks Cody is doing all of this to make things a little more dramatic than they really are. Now, he has said nothing wrong. Up to this point in the promo, everything that Gunther has said is 100% true. Cody did not have to bring up his daughter. They did not have to have him do that. And yes, everything that Cody is saying and the way, the things that are coming out of his mouth now is making things more dramatic than they really are. That's true. That's 100% true. So again, the man has told no lies up to this point. He said his reason why he wins at Crown Jewel is himself. He says he is the greatest professional wrestler in this company right now, which is the first pop that he got of two in this segment. So he got a noticeable pop from the live crowd for saying that. So he's doing this, he says, to live up to himself and his own standards. Then he asked Cody to imagine for a moment. There's no fans here in the building. Okay, just imagine you're at an AEW show. Imagine there's nobody here, and it's just you and me. Okay, it's just the two of us standing here man to man. He wants Cody to give him his real reason, if he has one, why he feels he's going to be the Crown Jewel champion. Cody said that's the dumbest question that's ever been asked of him in a wrestling ring. Take everybody out of this, just you and me. He says, newsflash, none of this exists without all of the fans. And then he let the fans do the whoa. Now, why did he let the fans do that? Because when Cody came out to make his entrance, before he could do his whoa, Gunther's music interrupted him. So now he wants to make sure the fans can go whoa. So that's what the fans did. They got it out of their system. And he goes, dramatic. Have you seen my family? Have you seen my brother? I don't know what that dig was all about. You bet your ass that I'm dramatic. They call them Cody crybabies for a reason. And he said that they're proud to be dramatic. Question for Gunther. Where were you yesterday? Where were you the day before that? Said he was there at Allegiant Stadium talking about WrestleMania 41, doing the media rounds, but he couldn't be bothered, Gunther, to get out of bed. He didn't see him anywhere. He looks like a champion, looks the part, but the part that he's missing is the giant responsibility that comes with being the champion. So Gunther, he held his world title and showed it off. He said, he is the workhorse champion in this company. And he knows everything about responsibility. He gets all the same requests that Cody does. The difference is he just says no. Says that he has the guts to say no to the boss. He has the guts to say no to any media request. He has the guts to say no to any charity and to all the fans. And you know what? The reason Cody doesn't say no and put himself first is because if he stops being everyone else's servant, his little story is over. And that makes him a gutless champion, and a gutless champion will always be secondary to him. The second pop from the crowd that Gunther got is when he said that he made the comment here about how, he's the dominant champion in the company, and when he said he's the workhorse champion. When he had that workhorse line, people cheered again for him. Because it's true. I mean, again, when you hear him saying these things and you really stop and think about it, and the kind of matches that he's been having throughout this run as the Intercontinental Champion, and now he's the World Champion, he is. He really is. Certainly one of the workhorse champions, if not the workhorse champion in this company. And the fans, here in Brooklyn, the fans know. All right? Here in Brooklyn, we know. We know it when we see it. And you heard it from the crowd when he made that comment. But he said Cody would always be secondary to him. And Cody said that his entire career has been made on guts. Guts is ending a civil discussion like this and taking the first shot. And with that, he attacked Gunther. So look at this fucking guy, okay? He had no comeback for anything that Gunther said to him in this segment. So what does he do? He has no answer to any of it. He resorts to violence. That's what he does. He has no comeback, so I'm just going to punch you in the face. What a coward. So he attacks Gunther. Ludwig Kaiser shows up. He attacks Cody from behind. They put him down. Gunther then gives him a lariat. Randy Orton comes out, and the heels scatter. Cody got upstaged by Gunther here in this segment. Again, he had no comeback. That's why he attacked the guy in the first place. This was much better than what I was expecting. I did not have high hopes, especially after that Cody segment last week, or even their first face-off on Raw a couple weeks ago. This was much better than that. And again, I found myself agreeing more with the heel in this segment with the world champion than I did the WWE champion. This is all about one thing. This is not about Cody's daughter. This is not about any of that garbage. It's about bragging rights. It's the Survivor Series Raw versus SmackDown, us versus them dynamic. Champion against champion, not for any of their titles, but for this new meaningless title that we just created and we're not going to see again for another 12 months. That's what this match is all about. Now, as far as who wins, the simple answer is, as far as who wins this match, if Kevin Owens gets involved in the match, Gunther is going to win. And if Goldberg flies his bald head all the way to Riyadh, that's not going to end well for Gunther. That's the simple answer here. Because I just can't envision Cody beating him clean. I can't envision Gunther beating Cody clean, even though a clean finish would be kind of refreshing to see. But it's also, I mean, it's a terrible thing because you're going to have, let's say in a clean situation, if they were to go down that road, you're going to have Cody pin Gunther. That would be fucking terrible. Gunther's been pinned once his entire WWE main roster run. And so you're going to have him pinned a second time by the WWE champion in a non-title match, because that's what it is. I mean, I know the crown jewel title, it's a non-title match. You're going to have Cody pin Gunther? That would be awful. But for Gunther to pin Cody is also just as bad. Unless it's leading to something, which it's not, neither one of these men should be taking a loss in this match. So the only way out of it is to have interference. Somebody gets involved and they can at least further a separate story out of it. But it's still a cheap win for the other guy. I don't see a good scenario here for either of these men as far as the finish of this match, which is why I wouldn't have booked the fucking match to begin with. Because you have two guys that really cannot afford to lose. And if they do lose and it's because of somebody else, it's just a cheap loss, and what the hell does it really mean? It's a no-win situation. That's why you don't book it in the first place. But as far as the Goldberg thing, I mean, again, I've seen his name bubbling up in the last few days. And there's another report going around that the match for Saturday night's main event in December could be Gunther defending against Damian Priest, which they teased on Raw Monday night in a backstage segment. They didn't say when, but clearly Priest is going back after the World Heavyweight title. If they're going to do that match in December, that leaves Survivor Series open for Gunther. Well, Goldberg makes sense, I guess, even though it really doesn't, especially if he just walks in and challenges for the World Heavyweight Championship. That certainly doesn't make any sense, especially because the last time we saw him, he lost. But they're going to need an opponent for him. And for all the rumors going around about maybe Gunther and CM Punk, because Punk will be back for Survivor Series. Yeah, but that's another one where, are you going to have Punk win the championship? Because if not, why would you do that match? Goldberg for them may be the safe choice. We'll give him a match, right? He wanted to come back and have a retirement match. Maybe this could be his retirement match. He wants to come back and do a match. We need somebody we could put in there for Gunther to beat to kind of bridge the gap between now and Saturday night's main event. And so we'll throw Goldberg in there and Gunther can beat him. I could definitely see that playing out exactly that way. If that happens, then what they will do is they will set it up at Crown Jewel and Cody Rhodes will walk out as the Crown Jewel champion. That's what it boils down to. But this also now sets up a tag team match that they announced for next week's show, which is being taped tonight. And I mean, the taping may be over now, for all I know. They actually started taping SmackDown half an hour before it went live on USA. So the show was not live, technically, when it aired on TV. Because they're doing a double taping. They're going to be traveling to Riyadh next week, so they're not going to be able to go live for SmackDown. And obviously they had all these guys already in the building, so now we're going to get Cody and Randy taking on Gunther and Ludwig Kaiser. That match has already been set up for next week's show. We go to the back, and we have all three general managers. We have Nick Aldis, we have Adam Pearce, and we have Ava. And they are surrounded by various women, including the women's tag team champions Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill. And the GMs announced that at Crown Jewel, Bianca and Jade are going to defend their women's tag team titles against 3 other teams in a fatal 4-way match. They will defend against Damage Control, Chelsea Green and Piper Niven, and Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson from NXT. So that each brand is represented. So that is now official. That's a lot of gear from neck to toe that the seamstress is going to have to work on for that show next weekend. Although I guess Bianca works on her own gear. So I guess she doesn't have to worry. She can work on her own stuff. Then we had DIY, Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa against the Motor City Machine Guns. This was a #1 contenders match. Who will face the Bloodline for the tag team titles? The Machine Guns, they debuted last Friday. They won a triple threat match to earn the right to be here tonight. DIY did the same. They beat the Street Profits and Pretty Deadly. Better reaction for the Guns this week than last week. Here in Brooklyn, they got a lot of cheers. You will not normally hear New Yorkers chanting Motor City, but they did tonight because they like these two guys. Things broke down. Ciampa was the recipient of a meet in the middle from the Machine Guns. Gargano hit a slingshot spear on Chris Sabin. Ciampa then worked over Alex Shelley on the floor. And so they went to a break. After the break, Sabin was battling with Gargano and Ciampa. Shelley tagged into the match. The two of them worked over DIY, complete with this wild double team spot that I don't know that I've seen this. But basically, Sabin came off the top rope with a drop kick to Gargano, which aided Shelley in hitting a flatliner. And that got them a near fall. So it sounds convoluted, but it looked great. Ciampa tagged in. He hit an assisted fairy tale ending. Then he landed a running knee strike to Sabin as Gargano sailed out of the ring and took out Shelley. And he only got a near fall, but it was a convincing near fall. Because you think, okay, they just took out Shelley. Ciampa hit his finish and then a knee strike. So that was a very good near fall. Gargano tagged in. They set up for meet in the middle, but that didn't work. Gargano then accidentally super kicked Tommaso Ciampa. Shelley tagged in and they hit their skull and bones finish to win the match. After the match, you could see Gargano and Ciampa, they were arguing a little bit. You know, there was no pushing and shoving or anything like that, but they were having a little disagreement. The Bloodlines music hits. Out comes Solo Sikoa, Jacob Fatu, Tama Tonga, Tonga Loa. Machine Guns are standing in the middle of the ring, and the show went to break as the Bloodline began to walk to the ring. A nice little cliffhanger there. Again, 18 years, and these two guys haven't missed a beat. It's amazing. See them go out there and do their thing. Really good match here, and a much better showcase for them than the triple threat. A little crowded last week in the ring. So this, I thought, was just this was a much better showcase for a team that some of the people in the building maybe were not familiar with. A lot of fans you could hear in the building, they probably knew who they were. But there's a lot of WWE fans out there that are in the bubble, or they're just casual, wrestling fan. Casual in the sense that they don't watch everything. They may only watch WWE because they know that's the biggest product. It's the most visible product. And so they kind of like wrestling, and so they watch WWE. And they wouldn't know who these two guys are. Closest that they've ever come is Alex Shelley had a very, very brief, I can't even call it a stint. He had 2 or 3 matches in NXT 7 or 8 years ago. Chris Sabin has never been in WWE. So there's most definitely a large segment of their audience that don't know who these two guys are. But again, this was a much better debut for them, I thought, even than last week. The Ciampa and Gargano thing is interesting. It could just be literally a miscommunication and that's it, nothing more. You can't read too much into what happened there until we get to next week's show or whenever the next time is that we see them. If it's addressed in a backstage segment with them, or if there's another match where they have a miscommunication, then they're obviously planning something. But right now, we'll have to just pump the brakes. I don't know if that's actually leading to a split. I hope not. I waited for so long for them to put these two together on the main roster, and they still, even though they've been the tag team champions once already, it was so brief that to split them up would be ridiculous. So I don't think that's what this is. Now they come back from break, and Nick Aldis is standing in the ring between the Bloodline and the Machine Guns, and he's telling Solo Sikoa, this is not going down tonight. And Solo said he just wants to come out here to introduce himself and to introduce the Bloodline to the Machine Guns, to the #1 contenders. He told Brooklyn, New York to acknowledge him. Motor City, welcome to SmackDown. Meet the Bloodline. Chris Sabin said, it was nice to meet the Tribal Chief, since Solo called himself the Tribal Chief. It's nice to meet you, Tribal Chief. And then he introduced themselves as the #1 contenders to the tag team titles. So whenever they're ready to hand those titles over, let them know, any place, anytime. And Solo said, since you guys came to SmackDown and you want to make an impact for yourselves, haha, how about a title match right here tonight in Brooklyn? And the fans like that. They wanted to see it. Aldis said, look, these men have sacrificed for 20 years, and he'll be damned if he's going to stand by and let them get their earned title shot tonight when they're anything but 100%. So Alex Shelley cut him off and said those titles are the most important things on the planet to them. So if they want to do it right here, right now, let's do it. And Aldis asked them, are you sure? He says, is this what you want? Looked out to the fans. Is this what you want? And the fans were adamant, yep, this is what they wanted to see. So he asked for a referee, and he said that we're going to have ourselves an impromptu WWE Tag Team Championship match. And so it was. Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley taking on Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa. This was not much of a match. It was more, they had a match, but it was more of an angle than any kind of full-blown match. It was a means to an end, but it was an exciting means to an end. It was an exciting angle. The four of them brawled immediately to start the match. They went to a break 60 seconds into this. The show came back. Shelley was getting his ass kicked. Bloodline went for a double splash. Shelley moved. When Jimmy Uso appeared at ringside. Now, he was not visible immediately because he was dressed in all black, head to toe, in a hoodie, so his identity was concealed. But again, you knew who it was. And he doles out super kicks to Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu. Then he revealed himself, so a fight ensued. And all of a sudden, Roman Reigns' music hits. And Roman walks out onto the stage, gives Jacob Fatu a Superman punch. Reigns, Jimmy, Solo, Jacob, they all brawl off to the back. Meanwhile, in the ring, Sabin tagged in. He hit Tonga Loa with a shotgun dropkick. The Bloodline fights back. They move the referee in the way of an incoming splash, and we got a ref bump. So with the referee knocked out, the heels grab chairs. All of a sudden, we get another man dressed in all black, in a hoodie, and it was clearly Jey Uso. Crowd knew it too because they started yeeting, and he took out Tonga Loa, threw him over the announce desk. Jey then hit Tama Tonga with a chair across the back, hit him with a spear. Then he revealed himself to a big pop. The Machine Guns then hit their finish, and they pinned Tama Tonga to become the brand new SmackDown Tag Team Champions. I said it last week. The minute Jey Uso showed up on SmackDown, he sealed his fate as the Intercontinental Champion. That was the end of his run. And then on Monday night, we saw how it all played out in the main event with Braun Breaker. He was cost the championship by the Bloodline. Now, it was interesting if you watch that show on Monday night because Solo Sikoa was portraying it as, look, we're just here to help you. We're not here to attack you. We don't have beef with you. We're here to watch. We're here to help. And he even took the bullet for Jey when Braun Breaker was coming around the ring and he was trying to spear Jey Uso. Solo shoved Jey out of the way, and he took the spear instead. Then we got that little face-off with Braun Breaker and Jacob Fatu, which was fucking great. You heard the reaction from the crowd in Philadelphia on Monday. That's a match that these people wanted to see. But Jacob Fatu took it upon himself to lay out Jey Uso. It wasn't like Solo gave the order. And we didn't get any further development on this here because Jey showed up as a surprise at the end. But that's something to keep in mind going forward in the promos that we're going to be getting in these next few weeks on the Bloodline angle. Are they going to portray it as Solo was trying genuinely to help Jey and it wasn't his intent for things to go down the way they did? Is that going to cause problems with Solo and his crew? Or is it just going to be ignored and they're just not going to bring any of that up? Because that was something that was, noticeable. And I missed it actually the first time when he pushed Jey out of the way of the spear. But it was very apparent, that that's what happened. And so we'll see if that gets brought up at all. But again, once they cost him the Intercontinental Championship, you knew Jey was going to get his revenge. It only made sense for him to cost them their titles. And now that's exactly what happened here. The Machine Guns, they got a pyro celebration as they stood on stage. Then they disappeared to the back. And that left Jey Uso in the ring alone all by himself. Jimmy Uso comes back out. And he walks down to the ring. We got both Usos in the ring, staring at each other. Jimmy comes in for the hug. Jey reciprocates and gives it right back to him. And the crowd pops huge. We got the Usos reunion. It's a big pop. Not quite as big as the pop that Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn got when they finally hugged and reunited in advance of WrestleMania last year. I feel like that got a much bigger reaction. But it got a great reaction nonetheless. And so the Usos are back together. Roman Reigns walks out on stage. And he's watching from afar. And it looks like he's sort of just taking it all in and thinking. And he's contemplating the situation. Because Jey may have forgiven his brother, but that does not mean that Jey Uso has forgiven Roman Reigns for the way that he treated him, for all the shit that he put him through. That is a separate segment altogether. This whole thing feels very rushed anyway, right? As great as this all is, and it's going to get a great reaction, it was always going to, the Bloodline reunion was always going to get a great reaction no matter what. Does it feel rushed? Yes. Is this something that they should have started teasing at least a couple of months ago? I think so. But they didn't do it, so here we are. But we have to get a segment. Whether it's next week, the week after that, There has to be a segment with Jey Uso, Jimmy Uso, and Roman Reigns where they let it all out. They just speak their mind. And ultimately, we get the reconciliation between Roman Reigns and Jey Uso. That is something that still has yet to come. After that, it really is just a matter of figuring out who the fourth man is going to be in the inevitable War Games match. And Sami Zayn would seem to make the most sense. That gives you 4 against Solo, Jacob, Tama Tonga, and Tongalo. And that would seem like the likeliest makeup of a War Games match. But the Bloodline story, it's not about titles. This is a story that it does not need, heading into War Games, championships. It's not about that. Jey Uso winning the Intercontinental title and the Bloodline winning the tag team titles. It only happened for one reason. It was to further the story that they are telling with the family. They used the titles as props, as tools for them to get to the destination that they are now here, to further their own story. The story itself, it's not about titles, it's about blood. It's about family. There was no need for Jey Uso to have a long run as the Intercontinental Champion. There was no reason to not put those titles on the Motor City Machine Guns once they became #1 contenders. Literally no reason to keep those belts on Tama Tonga and Tongalo. So it all worked out the way that it was designed to work out and the way that it should have worked out. Now, the Machine Guns, again, they may have come off a little bit like an afterthought there at the end. They left and the show continued on with the big Usos reunion there at the end. And honestly, also, for being honest, it's going to be a struggle going forward for these guys because this is not, by no means, is this the strongest that this tag team division has been on SmackDown. They have teams, but they don't have that many teams, and they certainly don't have that many exciting teams right now. You've got the Machine Guns, you've got DIY. Okay, so we just saw that. What do you have left? Waller and Theory are still together. Fuck if I know why. Grayson Waller and Austin Theory, that split should have happened a while ago, but they're still together. Technically, they're still on solid ground. You've got the Street Profits, obviously the Bloodline, but they're going to be off doing their own thing. The Usos are back together, but they're on separate brands, right? Jey is not a SmackDown guy. And how many other teams do we have here? We got Pretty Deadly. I know I'm missing one. Not the strongest tag team division. It's going to be a struggle. I'm happy for them. I'm glad that they did what they did tonight and they gave them that moment and they put those titles on them. But it is going to be a struggle going forward unless they do more to help, elevate and boost and strengthen that tag team division. But that right there, what they did tonight, that's how you establish a new team on the main roster. You can't do this all the time. You can't debut somebody and put a championship on them a week or two into their debut. It's a very unique thing. It's happened before. I can remember the first night Santino Marella debuted on Monday Night Raw and he won the Intercontinental title when they were in Italy. And you could find other examples. Paige, right? Hi, Paige here. I remember when Paige debuted and she won the Divas title. I guess it still would have been from AJ Lee, her first night on the main roster. Gail Kim, I think, once won the Women's Championship in her debut. Might have been in a Battle Royal. It's happened before. But you can't do it all the time. The timing, though, here made sense. And I'm glad that they were able to get that moment. I'm just very happy for those two guys. Again, two nicer guys you will not find. And two guys that have had a lot of influence, honestly, on the business. And have influenced a lot of other wrestlers and a lot of other tag teams. And to see them after 18 years is still a trip. Because it's just not something I ever would have expected, let alone that they would get pushed this hard this quickly. So that put a smile on my face at the end of the show. And they could still go. That's the most important thing. It's not just a token title run. These guys, the bell rings, they go in there, and they can fucking deliver. Okay? They can still go. They have not missed a beat. I didn't think it was a great first hour, but it gave way to a much better second hour with an excellent finish to the show. I thought a very enjoyable episode of SmackDown on the whole because of that. Gets a thumbs up for me. Let's see what you guys thought. Well, there it is. That says it all right there. With over 1,000 votes in, 91.7% thumbs up for tonight's show. 8.3% thumbs down. The people have spoken. SmackDown was the #1 show of the week. And there it is. We've had a lot of rough SmackDowns over the last few months. Thankfully, this was not one of them. It's always nice to get a good one, you know? All right, let's take a look at your Super Chats. What do you think of this SmackDown show from tonight? Well, let's find out. Get those likes up. You guys want to do Be the Booker. We still got a ways to go. Where are we at? Yeah, we got some work to do. So you guys work on that. Hey, The Real CS, thank you, man, for the $4.99. When Cena retires next year, do you see him going over or doing the honors? I think it's going to be a mix of both, honestly. I think it'll be more winning than losing, but I think it'll be a mix of both. Do you see Triple H working with Scott D'Amore with his new promotion, Maple Leaf Wrestling, down the line? That's a good question, because I think they worked the deal out with Scott when he was still in power to bring the TNA talent that they brought into the Royal Rumble, the deal with Jordan Grace. I think he worked that out with Scott. So the relationship is there, and I think at some point, I mean, the promotion just started, but I do think at some point, yeah, I could see them working together. Now, it's kind of a brave new world now. Josh Carlos, 98. Randy referencing 2009 still makes me feel like that Mania 25 match should have been no DQ instead of that dumb stipulation that they had.
I am the Lord.
Shut the fuck up. Speaking of dumb. Fuck that tree. You know, I don't even remember what the stipulation was for that WrestleMania 25 match. Justin G, SmackDown again, a no flex zone. They know better. Yeah, you know, I kind of blame myself because I made the comment a while ago. I said, boy, it's really nice. We don't have to hear that commercial anymore. And then all of a sudden it starts appearing again. And I'm like, wait, I thought we were done with this. Powerful one. Next up is the actual Roman and Jey reconciliation, but even then, they are still one man short. Anybody feeling oozy? I'm feeling pretty oozy tonight. Sidro, I don't know why, but Sabin looks like you. Congrats, Solo. So we're just going to add another white guy to the list of endless white guys that I just happen to look like. Bryan Danielson, Orange Cassidy, Jack Swagger. There's a soccer player or a rugby player, I think that somebody said I look like. For Sabin now. I've been compared to like 3 other people. You know what? Kofi Kingston maybe offended me the most. WrestleMania 28 in Miami. Kofi was filming like a vlog. And as we were doing interviews, I think I was interviewing Kelly Kelly at the time. He came over and he said that I looked like John Laurinaitis. Now, look, I was offended by that even then. But now, I'm even more offended to be compared to John Laurinaitis. Okay, that's a low blow. Jerome Eugenio, why 2 guys who are 3 for 3 and both have lost to LA Knight to get a shot at his title? You know what? That's a great point. And I don't have a good answer for you. That's true. They've already lost to LA Knight. That is true. They've had singles matches and they have both lost. I don't know. Don't have a good answer for you. Not what I would have done. Prince Vegeta. I feel like Jey going from hating his brother less than 2 weeks ago to loving him again is too quick, and it feels really forced, not too believable. It's not a matter of believability for me. I mean, you could argue they're brothers, so brothers fight. It's a lot easier for me to buy into the idea that two brothers, two twins, no less, who have the kind of history that they have had together could make up. But it's like I said before, this should have started earlier. They should have started teasing this out earlier. And they waited a very long time, longer than a lot of people thought they would, before they brought Jimmy back to TV. I don't know if that was a calculated move. I don't know if Jimmy really was injured and just wasn't cleared and ready to come back. I don't know. But I think they did make a mistake not starting this a couple of months sooner. Even if it was just little breadcrumbs, or Jimmy comes back and then he kind of drops little hints about trying to, I called Jey and he's not answering his phone. I haven't heard from him in months. Something. So yeah, it's going to feel rushed and it's going to feel a little forced. And I think that was a mistake. But it's easier for me to buy into Jimmy and Jey reconciling as opposed to Jey and Roman, which is why they need to portray it a certain way when they have that segment where Jey still wants no part of him and has to be convinced. And even then, I don't even think then it should be a case where Jay's just like, all right, cool, we're boys again, and then they just hug. I think he needs to keep Roman at an arm's length and not fully reconcile, but reconcile enough to say, you know what? We both share a common enemy here, so I'm willing to put my differences aside this one time so that we could come together and do business as a family. And that to me would be a lot more believable than him just kumbaya, give me the big hug, bro, and then everybody is back on the same page. Sidro. Forklift operators hate my puns, he says. They find them unpalatable. And what's the difference between a hippo and a zippo? One is pretty heavy and the other is a little lighter.
You suck.
We've got Blanca. Great ending to SmackDown. I liked how conflicted Roman looked at the end. Watching the Usos reunite, I am excited to see what happens next. It's a good ending. It's a good ending to the show, but the key is going to be in the follow-up to that. They need to knock that out of the park. Quizzical one. What do you get when a pirate phones you for his money? A booty call. Not you two. Sidro. What did the full glass say to the empty glass? You look drunk. Why should you never fall in love with a tennis player? Because to them, Ove means nothing. If that's a reference to a player, you lost me. You lost me. There was probably a 10% chance I was going to get that joke, and I did not get that joke. Sidro, what am I going to do with you? What am I going to do with you, brother? Dev to Dust. A Solomonster. Why does coconut milk get its name? Because nobody can say nut juice with a straight face. I just did. Can't say that anymore. I just said it. Love equals 0 and... But it didn't say love. It said Ove. Did you botch your own joke? I think he botched his own joke. It said OVE. I'm going to look back at it right now. I could have sworn it said OVE. Let me see here. Yep, you left the L out. That's an L for you. You didn't even get the joke right. No wonder I didn't get it. I wouldn't have gotten it anyway, but... The fuck am I supposed to know that love equals 0? How does that even make any sense? This is why I'm not a tennis fan. Ugh. My goodness. That's right. L for, well, hold on. There you go. L for you. You see, I even botched it. Fire Panda, channel member for 25 months. What is a fish to a submarine? What's a bird to a plane? What is a hawk to us?
I love you, Solo. You are my tribal chief.
Hey, Uffman, thank you. See, you ran out of space, Fire Panda. David Thiering with the $11 super chat. Can't think of a more appropriate super chat. Great to see the Usos hug it out tonight. Feels like the OG Bloodline versus New Bloodline at War Games is coming up. No other War Games match even makes sense. On the men's side, right? I mean, what would the other Bloodline or what would the other War Games match even be? So, it seems pretty clear to me what it's going to be. Super Pony. Triple H put over Kevin Owens as a monster. Give him the title. Well, let's see what happens at Crown Jewel if he comes out and acts like a monster. Let's not start booking him like 2003 Kane with the black towel over his head just yet. Ragnarok with the 10. Jimmy got Jey to drop the bloodline. Cost him the title and then rejoined while Jey quit. But now they're brothers again. Felt mad rushed. Well, it felt that way because it is. I've been telling you, it's going to end up being rushed. Dev to Does Halloween turns 46 today. You know, it's terrible. I have not had time to dive into the Halloween movies as I try to do every October, and now Halloween is coming up next week, and I feel like I've just run out of time. But I've just been so busy. Mr. Rod with the 20. Congrats to the Motor City Machine Guns on winning the tag team titles. You love to see it. Certainly better than whatever Dynamite was supposed to be on Wednesday. Hey, Mr. Rod, man, thank you for the 20. Oh, the Yanks lost, huh? On a walk-off grand slam. That's a shame. I'm going to reiterate the prediction I made on TNT at the end of TNT on Tuesday. I have the Dodgers in 6. Just so you get my World Series prediction, Dodgers in 6. I just think they're too good. They're too good this season. Nick Grasso with the 20. After SmackDown went off the air, Roman and Jey had a promo segment. Jey told Roman he was his equal, and if he got disrespected again, he would be gone. He said they fight as equals, and then Roman grabbed the mic and said, "Yeet." Well, I think you may have just spoiled the segment for next week, and that was not dark, because they taped 2 episodes of SmackDown tonight. So that may be airing on TV next week. Oops. I'll just pretend I didn't hear that. Nick says, Jey also mentioned Crown Jewel, so I guess we are getting a bloodline match in Saudi Arabia. Well, they don't have a whole lot of time left to set something up, so, I mean, what does that mean? Are we going to get Jimmy and Jey back together, the Usos against Tama Tonga and Tongaloa? Or is it going to be Jimmy and Jey against Solo and Jacob? Assuming that Jacob can travel to Riyadh. Meet Huncho. Celebrating 12 months of membership, baby. That's right, GWO for life. Thank you for being a member. Joseph Stewart, if Stone Cold against Bret Hart had happened at WrestleMania 14, who would Shawn Michaels have faced at WrestleMania? So if Austin and Bret Hart, which is what I think the match would have been, or should have been, if the Montreal stuff had not happened, it's possible Shawn would have been so injured he wouldn't have even been on the show. But then again, he got injured in the casket match. So if he wasn't the champion, then there probably... Well, yeah, I can't say there wouldn't have been a casket match because he was still feuding with The Undertaker. I don't know. If he was healthy, Undertaker and Kane was already baked in for WrestleMania. So you got Bret and Austin, with Bret finally putting Austin over, and then Undertaker and Kane. I don't know. Who's that leave? I'm trying to put myself back in that 98 kind of roster mindset. I would say if they didn't blow it off on TV, you could have done Shawn and Owen Hart. You Shawn Michaels and Owen Hart. They ended up doing Owen and Triple H. You could have done Shawn Michaels and Owen Hart. Holiday 197, one of the best endings to SmackDown in a while. Something tells me Chelsea Green and Piper Niven may be winning the women's tag team titles at Crown Jewel with the fatal 4-way stipulation. Yeah, I could see Bianca and Jade losing the titles to any of them. I would have them on Damage Control. But I could see them dropping it to, honestly, even Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson, because the women's tag team titles are supposed to be defended across all brands. If they really were in the mindset of pushing these women, I could see them winning the belts too. But I'll get more into my Crown Jewel predictions on the podcast this weekend. We got Adoni X96. Which SummerSlam match was better? AJ Styles against John Cena in 2016 or Alicia Fox against Melina in 2010? Ooh, that's a tough one. I don't know. I'll have to get back to you on that. Also, rank these Manias: 32, 29, 27, 25, and 36. 36, I'm not going to rank because you can't rank it. It's just on the side. I don't see how you can rank that against the other WrestleManias. It's just not fair. As far as the other ones, 27 was pretty fucking bad. 29 was not very good at all. 32 was also not very good. 25 was made by one match. That's a one match. If ever there was a one match show, I'm sorry, that's it. But the one match on that show was better than any one match from any of those other shows. So I would, by default, I might have 25 at number one. So I might go 25. Man. Punk and Undertaker was pretty good though, but I didn't like much else about that WrestleMania, and I was there. Yeah, that WrestleMania sucked. 25, 29, 27, and 32. I'd probably go in that order. Jamie Dorish, who's the biggest Hulk Hogan fan? Eric Bischoff or Hulk Hogan? Brother. Hulk Hogan, but Bischoff is right there. Now, as I've always said, Bischoff has to be careful, man. If not that Hogan walks very fast these days, but if Hogan ever stops short, you know, Eric's going to have some brown that he has to clean off his nose. Kind of like a cat after it licks itself. Anis with the $9.99. Who's got the most annoying fans, Dodgers or Yankees? Personally, I think Dallas Cowboys. I think the Phillies. Ricky Cornflakes, NBA basketball reference. Haha, Dallas destroyed Phoenix. Even I knew that. ESPN wouldn't shut up about it at the time. John Sterniker, Dom versus Ray, Dom versus Rhea. Who do you see Dominic Mysterio wrestling at WrestleMania? I think there's a better chance that we get Dom against Rhea, frankly. I don't think they're going to come back to Dom and Ray this quickly. Donnie Yasu, have you ever booked anything more perfect than Hogan versus Hogan in a buried alive match for Be the Booker? Nothing that I could think of. I think that pretty much takes the cake. The Learning Tree says, Solo, let me have the Hog World title. I need it. Yeah. Yeah, the Learning Tree needs another belt the way that I need a hole in my head. Uffman Entertainment with the 15. Why can't dinosaurs clap their hands? Because they're extinct. Well, that's true. That's actually true. I'll give you that. The Abyss. Just coming from the OTS venue to show some love while you are live. Hey, Abyss, I appreciate that. Thank you for the $4.99. Much love to you, brother. Slim Yoshi with the 10. I watched Undertaker against Kane Hell in a Cell in 2010. Oh, God. Speaking of matches that sucked. And was disappointed due to how lackluster it was. If they had that match in the Attitude Era, could it have been better? Was it 10 years too late? There was something wrong with The Undertaker that year. After WrestleMania, he was gone for a while. When he came back, he was not the same guy. I don't know what was going on with him at the time, what surgery he may have had. He was sluggish. He was just not the same performer for a while there. And I'm sure that contributed to it, but yeah, that Hell in a Cell match that they had, that fucking sucked. Was that the one, I think, with Paul Bearer at the end turned on Undertaker? Yeah, that match was fucking garbage. Andre Johnson, I've been drinking and I'm drunk. Well, that's usually what happens. I will watch this review when I'm sober. Who do you think is going to win the Rumble this year, men and women's? I don't know for sure. Gotta get a little bit closer, but for the women's, boy, it's tough. I know people don't want to hear it, but she's not back yet, but she's going to be, and we're getting very close. And you always have to consider Charlotte Flair as the odds-on favorite. If she's not the champion going into the Rumble, she's always going to be the odds-on favorite to win. And I could see her and Tiffany. If Tiffany cashes in, I can see her and Tiffany for the Women's Championship at WrestleMania. So I think Charlotte has to be in the conversation. I mentioned this on TNT the other night. I think Io Sky has to be on that short list of like top 3 under consideration for the women. I think Io's been kicking ass and she's gotten over as a babyface. Io's great. I don't want to see her just doing tag team stuff. But probably Charlotte would be the favorite right now. On the men's side, that's tougher. If we assume Cody and Gunther are going to go into WrestleMania as the champion, The Rock has so much to do with the direction of things. I just don't... I don't know. I mean, if The Rock is going to wrestle Cody, he doesn't have to win the Rumble to do it. He could just kind of anoint himself. Or I guess he could always win the Chamber. It'd be easier, though, for him to just show up at the end and win the Rumble than it would be to put him in a freaking Chamber match. So I think Rock is on the short list of favorites. I think he has to be. I think CM Punk would be on the short list. I would have said Braun Breaker if they did not put the Intercontinental title back on him. When it kind of looked like maybe they were going to push him towards Gunther for the world title, I would have said Braun would have been my pick. But now they're not doing that, so I don't see Braun Breaker being that guy. Rock, Punk, or Cena. I think John Cena has got to be one of the favorites. But I can't boil it down to that one favorite right now. It's still too early. But Cena will be there. Cena's going to be in the Rumble, so you can't count him out. I wouldn't do it. But that doesn't mean they wouldn't. The Winston Slit. Why wasn't Max Moon's finish the solar plex? Why wouldn't his finish be the moonsault? Wouldn't that make more sense? The Juliet. Put the tags on Damage Control and have them and Julia and Stephanie Vacker face off for the titles. Now that is a great idea. I co-sign that idea. Devin from New Jersey, in honor of Halloween. What was the name of the most disturbing movie that you have ever seen? I remember you talking about it. Oh, yeah, well, thanks for bringing that up. I thought for a second there you were talking about Human Centipede, but no, it was... I don't even want to say it, honest. I truly don't want people to see this movie, so I'm not going to say it. But yes, I've talked about it on the streams before. It is a very sick... And I didn't know that going in, but it's a very sick, very disturbing movie. And people should not watch it, so I'm not going to mention it. But that is by far the worst movie I've ever seen. And a close second would be Battlefield Earth. Powerful one. Both teams still suck, but as a baseball fan, I cannot hate on that game one. It was pretty awesome. Well, I'll have to check out the highlights later. And Dan Richards, channel member for 17 months. Do you think Saray deserves another chance at NXT or WWE? Anyone else that got screwed by the Rainbow NXT switch that deserves another chance? You know, Sean was still in charge during that period. He took over there. And no, if I'm Saray, from what I understand, she's doing very well back in Japan. And no, if I'm her, I'm not running to go back to WWE the way things ended with her. I wouldn't be so quick to go back. There may come a time where she feels like, okay, you know what, I'd like to give this a try again, but she got treated just awful with that fucking gimmick, that Sailor Moon gimmick. And I wouldn't go running back if I were her. The wounds have not healed. Saray is the Marigold champion. You know what? That's true. And so the best thing for her might be stay with Marigold because they've got a working relationship with WWE. It's entirely possible that Saray could end up coming over and doing some matches while being a part of Marigold. She doesn't have to come back to the United States and sign with WWE. They already fucked her over once. Why let them do it again? I thought you meant Saraya for a second. No, it's Saraya. Saraya is not the Marigold champion. I think we would have heard about that. Oh, the complaints. Can you imagine the complaints if Saraya won the Marigold title? Oh, man. All right, we just passed the 400 threshold in likes, so thank you. Keep hitting that like button. It helps the video out, but we did hit our goal. So let's be the booker.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to be the booker.
I can't get that image out of my head. Saraya going to Japan and winning the Marigold title. All right. Let's do some be the booker here. Deputy Dog thought it was a schoolgirl gimmick. She was Sailor Moon. Yes, because I guess that was the gimmick for this young Asian lady who is now working for NXT. We'll make her a schoolgirl. It was shit. With her magic, remember the magic pendant, the magic medallion that she had around her neck from her grandmother? Give me a fucking break. All right, tag team be the booker. We have got the Dirty Heels kicking us off here from TNA, circa 2012, 2013. Maybe 2013, 2014. Bobby Roode and Austin Aries Whatever happened to Austin Aries? He kind of fell off the face of the earth, right? Good. But they were a really good team. I liked them at the time. Bobby Roode and Austin Aries. Going to be taking on Cesaro and Jack Swagger, the Real Americans, against the Dirty Heels. A fine match that would have been. That would have been a fine match. That's a very good way to kick us off here. I like it. He's controlling his narrative. That's right. He's still controlling that narrative, huh? Becky Lynch. We got the man here in Women's Be the Booker. We have the man in the women's match here. Becky Lynch. And let's see who the man is going to be stepping into the ring with, as Becky enjoys her sabbatical from wrestling. What happened to all those people? I thought they were talking about how Becky's going to show up at Wembley Stadium. Becky Lynch is going to show up and she's going to wrestle Mercedes. She's going to AEW. Whatever happened to those people? Patience, I guess, right? It's all part of the plan. She's coming in. Oh. Well, I guess she is wrestling Mercedes. I just sort of willed that one into existence, didn't I? Becky Lynch and Sasha Banks. You're going to get the match. You're not going to get it in AEW, but you're going to get it here and Be the Booker. How about that? Did I not call that, or did I not call that? Oh, boy. The wrestling gods are looking down upon us here. And they're like, he said it, so it shall be done. Solo Damas. There you go. Hey, we're on a hot streak here. Let's see if we can end this the right way. Here we go. Men's main event. Here we go. It's the almighty Bobby Lashley, who I have a feeling we're going to see Bobby Lashley on TBS this Wednesday night. Just the feeling I have. When Shelton Benjamin wrestles Swerve Strickland. Bobby Lashley in the main event. Always has a place in the main event here in Be the Book. Let's land on Swerve. I'm going to try to will this match now into existence. Lashley and Swerve. Let's make it happen. Bobby Lashley going to be wrestling. Uh-oh. Liv Morgan gives you her room key. All right. Now pick a stip. I'll take that key. Thank you very much. All right, well, I guess before we can pick the opponent, we have to pick a stipulation because these are the rules. So before we do that, let's go ahead and pick a stip. We know Bobby Lashley is one half of this match. We don't yet know who the opponent is going to be. But let's see what kind of match they're going to have. I'm sure Bobby Lashley is very excited about this, because he's about to have his first exploding barbed wire death match at the age of what? How old is Bobby Lashley? Is he 48? It's almost 50 years old, this guy. He's going to have an exploding barbed wire death match. Welcome to AEW, Bobby Lashley. All right. Let's try this again. I can get the drum roll. We can't pick unless we have a drum roll. There we go. Wasn't working. Bobby Lashley in an exploding barbed wire death match against Jim Cornette. I'm sure Cornette must be thrilled at that stipulation. Bobby Lashley and Jim Cornette in an exploding barbed wire death match. Outlaw Mud Show, indeed. We almost had a clean sweep. It was not meant to be. Thanks, yeah, Dom. Dom fucked it up. Thanks a lot, Dom. Had to pick a step, huh? I think Corny, that's right. Corny's going to die in that match. That's not going to end well for him. Boney says, why does everyone hate the Yankees? I don't think Yankee fans hate the Yankees. You can't say everyone hates the Yankees. I think people came to hate the Yankees for many years because they would spend and spend and spend and sign all these big names, and they were the evil empire, all those championships they won, right? It breeds jealousy, a lot of negative feelings. People haven't forgotten about that late 90s period. Jeremy Rose, Randy Orton wins the Royal Rumble, expected to pick Gunther, and then turns on Cody and picks him. And that, hey, you know what? I'd be okay with that, but that's all predicated on The Rock not wrestling Cody Rhodes. And we just don't know right now. We don't know what his plans are going to be. So we can't say for sure, but yes, Randy Orton, I think, could very well be on the short list of favorites as well. I think it's very possible. Powerful One says it's the same reason that everyone hates the Lakers and the Celtics and Brady's Patriots and now Mahomes' Chiefs. Aren't the Astros the most hated team? They're pretty hated. They're pretty hated. But, you know, the Astros are fine as long as they don't have a garbage can near them. Then they should be okay. I played on the Astros. That was my little league team. I played shortstop on the Astros. Got my own trading card and everything. Thank you guys for the super chats. I appreciate it very much. Again, if you are a channel member, go check out part 2 of the members only Q&A. You get another hour of content from me. You can enjoy it this weekend. Just lounging out, answering some questions, just interacting, you and me. And you can check out both parts, 1 and 2. They're currently up on the channel right now. You know, we're also heading into, and I'll talk more about this as we get a little bit closer, but the month of November, early November, really, is going to be the anniversary of the Sound Off. Every November, it was November of 2007 that I recorded my first episode. So we are coming up on the 17-year anniversary of this podcast. Can you believe it? So that is what we are going to be celebrating in November. But I mentioned this because if you are a channel member on the highest tier, the Legends tier, you do currently have access to the first 13 episodes I ever did, including episode number 1 from November of 2007. It's startling to hear my voice there as compared to how it is now. But I guess, you know, hey, your voice changes in 17 years. That's what happens. But it's pretty incredible. So for those of you who are still with me after all these years, and I have a lot of people who have been listening since episode 1, can't thank you enough for sticking with me. It means a lot. Anyway, check out episode 885 of The Sound Off. That'll be going up on Sunday afternoon at some point. So check out the podcast, follow me on social media, and the next time I am live with you, we got 2 more live streams to go before we wrap up October. We got some Halloween streams coming up next week. Monday night after Raw. That's the next time I will be live here on YouTube. I expect to see you there. So until then, be well, stay safe, have yourselves a great night, and I will see you back here next week for a new round of streams here on YouTube. Thanks for the love. Have a good weekend. I'll see you then.